the best or better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Today is my best. If my kids are sick, I can only take care of them and not be able to do some of the work tasks that I am supposed to do. That's the best I can do today.
I love that.
And next day, you start from zero.
Start over the next day.
Start over the next day and try to do your best that day. And then when you go to bed, you be happy that you have tried your best today. It doesn't have to be better than yesterday or better than before. It's just my best.
You don't have to beat yourself up.
Exactly. Isn't that already
That's good.
Liberating already, knowing that I
Yeah.
have done my best today and that's all you need?
So, hello, Facebook. We're live. But on that note, I beat myself up a ton. I feel guilty for not doing what I should do or not getting to certain tasks. I'm constantly torn, between being a good dad, spending time with my kids, getting all my work done. And, I don't know if you remember Jeremy, the business coach who I hired for a while there. When was it? It would have been the end of this last year. So end of 2022, he said, "Hey, Sam, let's pause." I was telling him about all these, I'm frustrated. I'm not getting everything done. There's so much more that I want to do, but I don't have time. He's like, "Hey, let's take a pause. And I just want you to give yourself permission to release everything that's not gone right this year, whether it's your fault or not your fault." Like, okay. And that was huge for me. He's like, just give yourself permission to let it go and start over and stop feeling guilty about it. And I was like, oh, okay. Cause, through a divorce, through crazy economy, like there's so many things I felt like I was lacking on business wise. And he's like, you did the best you could. Like you're going to work every day.
Right.
As a dad, you're doing the best you possibly could. So stop feeling bad about it.
Sam, you're like me, like kids and family, it's very high on your priority list.
Yeah.
So there are always conflicts. Kids are sick or they're falling behind in school. Then you also have work, accountability stuff you have to do. There are many times there are conflicts. Then, one of my early coaches says, "What's my definition of success?" So no one ever asked me that question before.
Right.
Then I said, I've never really thought about that. And then when I sat down and wrote down my list of priority and my definition of success being a good mom is number one.
Yeah.
Then everything else, you just work towards that goal. Then if, business, if I didn't get a deal or if I didn't do certain thing I'm supposed to, then if I was a good mom that day to my kids and I tried my best, then I was according to my definition that's already a successful day.
Right.
Right.
I love that. I was supposed to write a Q3 update for our investment properties we have together on Saturday. And then the kids asked me to go on a bike ride. And they always beg me, Betty's girls, my kids. It was a really nice day out. And so I said yes. And then we had 3 flat tires. And I spent the next hour and a half fixing flat tires. And then we went on the bike ride and then it was time for dinner. I did not get the update written. And I was like, okay, exactly what you're talking about, but I'm winning in the dad department. Like I did a really good job as a dad today. So I got to remember that and not feel too bad about, because I don't think you are going to be mad if you get the update on Wednesday or Thursday rather than Monday. Like great investors like yourself and people understand it. If you get it a few days, but my kids, I would have never gotten that time back with the kids to take them on bike rides. Right.
So that's why, we're talking about this book, The 4 Agreement. It's actually one of the book that Mike Ferry recommended in one summer on the summer reading list, which is very not typical of what he asked us to read.
Sure.
And I was telling Sam, like the first time I read this book, it's only an $8 book. I love giving this book as Christmas gifts, actually.
Nice. Yeah.
And it changed my life. And I read it 3 times back to back because it was so impactful. And one of the agreement is don't take things personal. In our business, we're getting rejections all day long. Then it's not us.
Yeah.
They don't need real estate. They don't want to sell or move right now. It's not us.
Right.
Don't
or they
take
just
it
didn't
personal.
have time to talk.
Yeah. And that helped me a lot because otherwise you're hanging on to things. What could I have done better? or, oh, it must be me. They don't like me. They hire someone else.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's not you.
And if you take it into your personal life, for me, it's even harder to do in my personal life.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend was over, and his girlfriend, or excuse me, his wife, she was getting uptight about something, and he was just like, hey, this isn't you. Are you hungry? Are you upset? Are you frustrated about something? Instead of getting offended.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, Sam would have been like, what the freak's your problem? Stop yelling at me.
Right.
You know, because I take things personal. And
I know what to give you for Christmas now.
There you go. There you go.
It's a great book.
Yeah. And so, you know, prospecting, you know, I got really good at just someone was mean. They'd hang up on me.
Mm-hmm.
But like, okay, great. One call closer to getting a good new client.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine if I could do that in my relationships with family and friends and my girlfriend, like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm not going to take this personal. What's going on with you?
Yeah.
And how can I help?
It's always if someone has a big reaction. So there's an example in the book. Is that even if someone is pointing the gun to your head, it's still not your problem.
Wow.
Because feeling fearful, insecure, and angry. It's something going on in them. It's still not you.
Yeah. That's really hard to internalize and actually get to the point where you don't react, though.
Yeah. Then in our business too, there are a lot of things that can make us angry or fearful with the new lawsuit that had a
NAR.
verdict last year.
Yeah.
So you can react by being fearful and take everything personal, or you say, hey, it is what it is. Everybody's going through the same thing. Then let's just get all the information and understand the background and what's going on.
Yeah.
And you decide what you want to do with the information.
Right.
And you can do as much as you want or as little as you want. It's your choice. And you look at your priorities, what's important, how much time you want to spend on this, and how important it is for you to do this.
Yeah.
And make sure it agrees. Because if you don't have a balance of addressing your other priorities that are important to you, you will never feel fully successful.
Right.
You're always missing something. It's like, oh, could have done
Right.
something else.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't really introduce you because we were getting right into the good stuff, which is great. I think that's actually the best way to start a podcast because, you know, people do want to know who you are and what you've done. But I love getting into the nitty gritty right away. So, but really quickly, let's introduce you. We've been friends for years now.
Yeah.
You've stayed at my house. We've taken you fly fishing.
Yeah.
We hang out at conferences together in San Diego, Vegas. And we've also invested together. We sent clients back and forth to each other. We've done investment seminars together. But what I want to do, and the reason I'm excited to be here is I'm rebranding my podcast. It was Recession Proof Real Estate Investing, which was great. We learned a ton. I think it was like 70 something episodes, from people like you and other investors who, you know, what not to do and what to do in real estate investing. And what I found is I got kind of bored with it. And what I really loved doing was talking to top producing, positive, highly effective people like yourself who are crushing it as a mom, as a person, as a realtor, or whatever, you know, you're doing. That's what I really enjoyed on my podcasting. And so that's what we're doing now. We can talk a little bit about real estate investing, but really, you know, like this book and what have you done to become successful? So Grace Tsang, everyone, very good friend of mine. You've been selling real estate for how long now?
About 12 years now.
12 years, a 7-figure producer. And what I've noticed is she's very similar to a lot of my other top producing friends. And you are very good about staying calm and making people feel heard. I can tell that about you. And people, I mean, anyone I've talked to that's worked with you loves working with you. And so anyways, congrats on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I would say I love working with them too.
Yeah.
I think it's
shows.
mutual. The feeling is mutual.
It shows for sure. And so we met at a Mike Ferry training years ago, all about cold calling.
No, I think it was a conference first. You were sitting next to me.
Sitting next to you at
up front seats.
Well, but all he talks about is cold calling, right? He talks about calling. And you've evolved your business. And really, I mean, you started out and you kept increasing. And now you've got a business that's producing a great income for you. And what I wanted to do is tell our listeners a little bit about how you started, how it's going now, but also your background, because you have a tech background, not in sales, correct?
Not in sales. Yeah. So I was a software project manager for many years. I have a computer science degree. I needed a visa to stay in this country or green card. That's why I went into a major that would get me the job that I needed. So I was in the tech business for many years. That was fine. I could do it.
Yeah.
They didn't fire me. So for a while it was fine and a stable, income.
Yeah.
Then I was learning, then that was fine until there was a point that I just felt like I wasn't growing. I didn't want to grow more into either computer or into management at a corporate. Then I felt stuck. By then I had 2 kids already and a mortgage to pay. And what do? Do I change now? Or do I not? So, but I thought life is short. I couldn't do that job for another 20, 25 years. So I said, let's not die when I'm still alive.
I love that. Mike Ferry and...
let's not be dead when I'm still alive, right? So let's just go out and live. Even if I don't make like at that time, I was thinking, I didn't know if I am going to be successful in real estate.
Yeah.
But I thought, okay, if I go out and try it, then I'll feel alive and I try things and I must learn something from it. Then at least I know I've tried.
I love that. Eddie, who I interviewed earlier, said the same thing. He said, I want to learn, you know, and that's what you just said. You wanted to learn and grow. And he said that's one of the top 3 things that really helped him be a successful person is not plateauing, not stopping, keep learning and growing and reading books and trying new things. That's scary when you walk away from a stable income and you go to straight commissions. And what year was that? That was
2011 when my younger daughter was born.
2011. That's right. We started the same year. So we started the same year, 2011, when your younger daughter was born. And how did it go? What were some of the challenges? And I mean, the market was just coming out of the slump that it was in, the recession.
I have to say I was very lucky because 2011 was, like you said, coming out of the recession. So people are ready to do something. We were kind of on a launch phase of real estate again. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anybody in real estate. I was very lucky to have met my mentor at the time, Brian Crane. I walked into his office not knowing who he is, and I sat down. At that time, in my mind was like, I know nothing about real estate, so I shouldn't try to dictate how I should do this. Let someone tell me, which was completely opposite of how I used to operate.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, sometimes it's when your mind is already fixed, you can't get new things. So Bruce Lee has a saying, you have to empty your cup.
Okay.
You always empty your cup because new things can come in. So I made a point to like, okay, I'm going to do everything against what I used to do, what I told myself, because I had been coaching myself my whole life and I didn't like where the career I was ended up in and where I was. So I said, okay, let's listen to other people and see what they have to say.
Yeah.
So that was one of the best life-changing moment for me, is stop feeling like I know everything or I know what I should do and just listen to other people and
I love
what
that.
I should do. Same thing with when we sat down next to each other at a conference. I was just asking you, like, what's there in Utah? I've never been to Utah.
Yeah.
And I said, what's your investment, opportunity out there? It's just asking the questions and just hearing what other people are saying and then interpret that information to see if it's something that I can use. Yeah.
Being teachable is really important. And, I've run teams. I've had multiple teams in real estate, and that's the number one thing I think that holds people back is they think they have a better way, or they think that your way won't work, even if they don't have their own way, or they're unable to listen and learn what you're trying to teach them.
Yeah.
And it's funny, that's how you started with Brian is, hey, I have an empty cup. Let me learn. I walked into my first broker's office and he said, well, what do you want? And I said, I just want a system. I know there's people that do this at a high level. Is there some type of system I can just follow that will help me be successful? Because I don't want to figure it out. I really don't.
You don't have to. I was so shocked going into this business. In software, there were, things are changing so fast that there was no system. Everything is changing every minute. Like every 2 years, there's new language, there's new system, new software. There's no coaching at that time. But walking into the real estate industry, I said, coaching, I've never heard of coaching. And you don't have to know, like they tell you what to do. That was totally interesting.
Right. Well, and then you got into Mike Ferry coaching. So you had Brian Crane, who great individual, fantastic guy. Now the CEO of Intero. Yeah. Great guy. So you had him, and then you had Mike Ferry coaching. And, I did the same thing. I had my broker, and then I had my Mike Ferry coach.
I have to bring that up because a lot of newer agents think, oh, I already have a broker. Why do I have to pay extra? We pay extra, $1,000 a month to be in coaching.
Absolutely.
And the reason for that is in a brokerage, you have hundreds of agents and you brand new agent. And sometimes you don't know what to do. And it's hard to get a more personalized, kind of session to like, okay, I don't know what to do. How do I do that? But with coaching, for me, was that I could ask any stupid questions I want.
Yeah.
And in an office, like your office, then every top producer is doing something different.
Right.
They follow different programs. They do their own thing. They came from different background. But in the Mike Ferry, I'm not pitching for Mike Ferry, but then everybody follow the same system. Then I can sit down next to you and say, hey, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, I was stuck with this. How did you solve that? Have you run into it before? Then everybody knows where everybody's at or where we're going.
Right.
I thought that was very, very helpful as a newbie at the time.
There's a tribe of people that use Mike Ferry's system. They all use it with a little bit of their own spin, their own twist, their own personality. They adapt it and it works. And it's a proven system that works. And it's been amazing, also spending time with those people who they do it and they do it at a high level.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily because they're better than you or I. Most of them are just really disciplined at making the calls, building the relationships. They do it at a high level for a very long time. And that's how you become a top producing agent. And I love the skills. I love the systems. I love everything that Mike Ferry and my other trainers have taught me. For me, it's been mostly mindset, like about this book you're telling us about. Before the podcast, I asked her what her favorite book was, or one of her favorite books. And all of the books I've read, all of the mindset thoughts, that come out of those conferences and from those relationships, for me, is what helped me make $1 million finally in real estate. And it's the relationships and the mindset and where that takes you.
I don't know if you've ever had this experience of you read a book and it took you to a new level that you've never been. You're like, wow, like I've not seen the world through these lenses. And this was one of the books that did that for me. That's
awesome. How to Win Friends and Influence People was one of those for sure. And have you read How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling? It was written by a insurance salesman back in the early 1900s. I mean, the references and what he talks about, I mean, it's obviously written in the early 1900s, but it 100% applies. He talks about tracking his numbers and understanding, I didn't make a sale this week because I only talked to 4 people. I get a sale when I talk to 50 people or more. Right. And my enthusiasm. So he was actually a professional baseball player. And he wanted to be cool. And so he didn't run around the field. He didn't hustle. He tried to, just look like the cool baseball player. And his teams didn't like him and the fans didn't like him. And one of his coaches said, you know what? Why don't you just run around and hustle and go for every ball, hustle on and off the field, run around like crazy. And so he got energetic and enthusiastic. The coaches and the fans started to like him. Yeah. And he started making more money. His next contract was bigger. Nice. And he took those skills into selling insurance. He would run around meeting with people, high energy, high enthusiasm. And for me, I knocked doors to put myself through college. And I would tell my trainers, that's not me. I'm not the enthusiastic type. And they would say, okay, whatever, Sam. And until I read that book, I was like, oh, I can learn how to be. And my first broker gave me a challenge. He said, I want you to pretend like you're happy and excited everywhere you go for the next week. So when you buy a water at the gas station, you have to be excited and enthusiastic about it. Annoyingly so. And I actually became a happier, more enthusiastic person.
It's a choice.
By choosing.
Yeah. The energy you put out, you have to put out, being sad or being angry. Angry, actually, I learned that you have to use more energy, be angry and sad. It takes up more of your energy than being happy and light. And things are easier if you are happier or have a better,
absolutely,
more positive mindset.
Life's way easier when you're happy.
Yeah. You attract positive people who are always willing to help versus if you attract, this book talks about that too, gossips. If you are operating in, the world operates on gossip.
Yeah.
And if you are with the people always complaining, always gossiping, oh, like they do this, they didn't do that, then you don't have time to think what you have to do.
Yeah.
You're wasting time looking at everybody else. So that's also good from this book. Talks about
huge.
Gossips.
Yeah, we've recently kind of stopped hanging out with some friends that were pretty gossipy, pretty negative.
Yeah.
And I'm very protective about who I spend my time with.
Very protective because it's a garden.
Yeah.
Is it going to be growing flowers and good things, or is it just weed? It's your choice. It grows. Whatever you put it in there, it will grow.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, talk to us a little bit about how you've built your business, because there's agents that cold call every day. There's agents that network and build their network or their business through networking. You have a really nice online marketing system. It looks really great. But tell us a little bit about, pull up your website. Tell me a little bit about what's if you were a new agent again, what do you think's been the most successful things that you've done to help you build? And what would you tell yourself going back 10 years?
I was very lucky that I picked to go into coaching because at the time I didn't have any business. I was brand new. They always say, go farming, go farm, which is spending a lot of money. And I don't like to spend money before I make the money. And I said, if I were to spend money, I'm going to spend it on myself, learning, and things come back to me because I have a better control of how I use it versus a postcard that goes into someone's trash can. Right. So I built my business from learning the skills, which I wouldn't change a thing. I would go, if I were to go back 10 years and to my old self, I would say, do the same thing, learn the skills, because I came from tech industry. You have to have the skill set. You have to have you not always have to need the degree, but at least you need the technical skills to be successful.
Sure.
So going into coaching, I am learning the skills I need to be a realtor, to be successful. And coming from my last job, I didn't feel very successful leaving that career. And I wanted to do my best in real estate. Yeah. So I said, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes to learn anything I needed to learn to be successful in this business. So to new agents, I would say the same thing. You need the skills. There's so many realtors out there. How are you going to be able to overcome that objection if you don't have the skill and you missing out? Each opportunity you miss, it's an expensive one. And Santa Clara County, we only have 1,200 listings right now. How many realtors do we have? A couple thousand at least.
Yeah, more realtors than listings.
Exactly. So how you need the skills. So I wouldn't change a thing. And regarding which method of prospecting, it doesn't really matter, in my opinion. It's what you would do.
I love
what you would do a lot of.
I love that answer.
I couldn't do networking because my kids were very little at the time, 4 and 1. I couldn't go to happy hour at 4:00. Yeah. It's impossible. Yeah. And I had back pain for 5 years, the first 5 years in the business. So I didn't want to walk 5 miles or how many doors a day door knocking. So the easiest for me that I could do was sit in front of a desk and call all day long, because it works with my situation, my health situation, and also my lifestyle at the time.
I love that. So just to recap, there's no prospecting method that's better than another. Mm-hmm. You have to choose the one that you'll actually do.
And do a lot of.
And do a lot of it.
You do a lot of it.
It's a numbers game. And when I was cold calling every day, I was cold calling expired listings for sale by owners. Mm-hmm. Then I'd call around my listings, neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. I didn't farm, but I would call and say, hey, I just put a house up for sale on 123 Easy Street. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of that. And then I'd also call my sphere. Mm-hmm. But I could do that every single day because I was very confident. Mm-hmm. And I did a lot of it. And I knew if I talked to 200 plus people, I would get a listing. Mm-hmm. So I got to the point where I just knew, okay, this week, I just have to talk to good conversations with 200 people. I'll get a listing. Mm-hmm. And there's agents that, will get a listing every 50 people. Mm-hmm. I wasn't that great, but I would do the work.
But you can improve.
I did improve.
And something to look forward to. You tracked, your numbers are tracked, and you say, it's exciting. I think the most discouraging thing in real estate is you're like, when's the next deal going to come? Or where is it going to come from? And you just hoping it will be there.
Right.
I think that it's very tough on the mindset.
It's really tough. Way. It's the roller coaster that people talk about. You just on this high, you get a deal done, you spend all this time doing the deal, but all of a sudden you don't have the next deal to do.
Yeah.
And then you're low, and then you're worried about when you're going to make money, and then you get another deal, and then you drop the ball and not creating the next deal.
Exactly.
And, I want to talk about scripts a little bit because you sat on the phone and you called people. Mm-hmm. You had kids at home. You couldn't go network as much. Back pain, which is terrible. I deal with that all the time as well. So you couldn't go door knocking all day. So you called people. And there's a lot of pushback in our industry about scripts. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because, when I've run teams, I'll ask them, well, what do you want to say to the buyer or the seller? And they'll spit something out that's terrible. Mm-hmm. Like, no, I would never say that. That's never going to work. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they'll talk at people. And so learning to ask really good questions. Mike Ferry has a very specific script for every scenario. Mm-hmm. But if you notice, all they are a series of really good questions, taking people to answer and help you help them.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's interesting. There's a lot of people that are they push so hard against the scripts. Mm-hmm. And if you get good enough at them, they don't sound like a script. Exactly. That's the key that they're missing.
You really have to internalize and make it your own.
Yeah.
So what are scripts? It's just a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
So the questions, it depends on which script. It helps you pre-qualify. Is there business here?
Yeah.
How can I help this person?
Am I wasting my and their time?
In real estate, do they have a real estate problem? Am I the person to help them? Yep. Let's say if they have a tax question, I say, you know what, that's a great question, but I'm not qualified to help you. I learned the scripts, but you have to make it sound like the way you will talk.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't want to sound like you're reading the script.
No.
And yeah, if you sound bad with the script, that means you haven't internalized it and made it your own.
You have to work on it more. Yeah. And it's like, okay, a series of questions. How urgent do they need something? What are the challenges that they have right now? Then I already in my head already like, okay, I need to talk to this person, or I need to set them up with this. They need to talk to a financial advisor, or they need to talk to a CPA. Already mentally or physically making a list of things that, okay, this is how I can help you.
Right.
And let me follow up with you.
I love that.
Otherwise, it's just conversations that goes nowhere.
Or you're just talking at them.
Yeah.
That Mike always tells them, jokes like you're telling them about your dog, you're telling them how awesome you are. And that's not good sales.
Yeah.
You want to ask them questions and figure out, how do I help this person?
That you don't want them to feel like, oh, how do you not know something? Or I know everything you don't. Like, you have to listen to me. That's not going to go well. And you say, okay, tell me, what are the challenges, or what are you trying to achieve? Let me know and see how I can help you.
And that's when clients feel like you're pushy, when you're talking at them.
Yeah.
instead of asking them questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you've ever been shopping for a new car, or there's a huge difference from the salesman that just talks at you, tells you what you should buy, and then the one that says, hey, you know, how many kids do you have? Mm-hmm. Oh, Sam and Betty, you have 6 kids. Mm-hmm. You need a Suburban or a Mercedes Sprinter van. You know, so he'll actually, you know, ask questions, help solve a problem. A funny story about scripts. I just wanted to do a good job, and I knew that I wasn't good at winging it. So I called it for sale by owner. I used the script, Mike Ferry script. It was my first week in the business. Mm-hmm. Got an appointment somehow, and went out on the appointment, read the listing presentation like this to the seller, and they signed. And I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? They signed the listing, and then I helped them buy a house as well. All from a script.
It works.
It works.
Even if you're very inexperienced with it, it still works.
Yeah. But I did a good job, you know, telling them how I was going to sell the house, and they felt like I was professional. I was wearing a suit and a tie. Fast forward a few years, I didn't want to sound like it was a canned presentation. I wanted to make it Sam's presentation. And I wrote out the listing presentation every day for a year. Mm. And then I practiced it every day for a year after I wrote it out. Mm-hmm. And it went from me kind of talking with the client, you know, going through the things, to like not even thinking about it, just having a conversation with them about their home. Mm-hmm. And that's when my listings taken really went up. I went from about 66% of my listing appointments taken up to over 80%. Mm-hmm. And so again, back to these new agents, learn a script. Any script is better than no script. Mm-hmm. Learn how to ask really good questions. Mm-hmm. And then, again, what Grace said is, do it and use whatever you're actually going to do. Mm-hmm. You know, if it's Mike Ferry scripts, great. If it's Tom Ferry scripts, great. If it's another train, great. But learn how to become a good salesperson. Mm-hmm. What else has helped you?
Well, they talked about building a pillar, right? Mm-hmm. Cold calling is one pillar.
Right.
It's a pillar you can start anytime, immediately. You can download the script online and start reading them. Then that's how fast you can learn the scripts. Then the business evolves. And as you few more years in the business, you have more clients, then there are other ways that you can connect with your clients. So I love my sphere of influence. We have great parties every year. We're having another one, in December.
Nice.
I just love my clients because we enjoy the time we spend together, and I'm always here. I'm always, you know, updating them with what's happening in our business. And when they need something, they can always come back. Even need a plumber. I have great, vendor, referrals.
That's awesome.
When they come, I have used them. Many clients have used them. It's vetted. They're going to get a great service. That's just awesome. Like when they work with me, right? So you build on top of that.
Providing value.
It's hard to, you don't want to be doing only one thing. I was actually doing just cold calling for quite some time because I want to focus and work on that.
That's what I did.
Yeah. And then now I do business to business networking. Now my kids are older. I can actually go on. I had a 7:00 meeting this morning, B2B, but I did have to take my daughter to school as well. Yeah. And I can go to happy hour if, they're on some days. Yeah. And I learned probate. I learned divorce real estate. So you just decide, okay, where do I want to go with my business? And you have the foundation.
Yeah. Some people call it pillars, or some people call it streams of income or of clients. Mm-hmm. And you want to build those pillars up or build those streams up and have different things building your business. So what are your pillars? I have your sphere.
My sphere. I have my business to business. I have investment. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of investment clients doing.
You do seminars even. You'll teach people.
I teach people how to invest. Mm-hmm. And then I can do probate and then divorce real estate.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. I just interviewed our friend Kelly, and she talked about, probate's one, but before, when the family's moving the elderly mom or dad into a home or in with them, she's the expert.
The senior expert.
Yeah, the senior expert, not only to sell the home, but it's the estate sale. Mm-hmm. It's the moving the stuff into a storage unit, which storage unit, and the moving company. Mm-hmm. She'll actually pay for all of it to be done Or she'll have a company that will finance all of that work to be done. And then when the house sells, they get paid off. And I had never heard about that. So talk about having an amazing pillar for your business.
Yeah.
She is the go-to expert for elderly care and moving elderly people out of a home and doing everything. If they have artwork, getting the artwork appraised, getting it sold, and working with the trust attorneys, all the different things. And so that was about 2 weeks ago when I interviewed her, and I said, wow, that's a concierge full service.
She's awesome. Kelly's awesome.
She's great.
In our market, a lot of folks lived in their home for 50 years.
Yeah.
Selling a home is not easy. Financial concerns, tax issues, emotional attachment to the home. Their kids, they got married there, kids grew up there.
Yep.
It's not easy to move them to their next home knowing that they probably will be their last home, right? It's very, very emotional. You can't move very fast. Sometimes the Mike Ferry way could be a little too fast. Do you have business for me? No, I'm going to talk to the next person. It's a totally complete different skill set.
Absolutely.
Helping the seniors, yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, and so, one thing I want to talk about is how you take care of people. What is your process? And I'm really curious. I don't think I've asked you this before. Let's say you take a listing. How do you update them, and how do you help them feel informed and taken care of throughout the listing process?
They have me. I have their phone number. They have my phone number. We're in a chat group. We talk almost every day.
Every day.
Almost every day. I have hey, I want to give you an update. I spoke with this person and this is what they say. Stay tuned. I'll update when I have more information. Sellers, they call me. They can call me. I pick up the phone. Yeah. I tell them when you call, I'm always there to pick up. If not, I usually, if I'm in another meting or I will respond.
Filming a podcast.
Yeah. Within 1 to 2 hours. A lot of my clients, when they write a review for me, they always say I'm very responsive.
That's awesome.
Might come from my tech days.
Yeah.
You have to be, communications is key.
Right.
I just feel like it's just uncomfortable if I haven't talked to this client for a while, then I feel uncomfortable myself. So I would reach out and say, hey, I haven't talked to you in a few days, and what's happening? Everything okay? Do you need anything from me?
That's awesome.
That's all I said.
When I was running a team, I would force my my team members to text their clients and me 3 days a week. Even if there was no update. It was with their lender as well. If it was a buyer working with their lender, or a seller in the title company or whoever's working with them. And hey Grace, really don't have any news for you, but it's Monday. Wanted to say hi and wondering what questions you have. No questions. Sometimes they wouldn't even get a response.
I even go happy Saturday. This is what happened the last couple of days. What are your plans for the weekend? I'm going to do this. My daughter has a color guard. I'll be busy, tournament. I'll be busy with that. Hope you're doing something fun.
Yeah.
And
that's
they feel
awesome.
like we're friends.
I love that.
I care about what you do on the weekend, which I do. I want to hear. My clients do amazing things. They go hiking. They share their trails with me, and they take their kids to all the fun activities. I want to know.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a really good personal touch that not a lot of realtors, I think, do.
I don't do it every week. I mean, like if we have something to talk about, and I always start with greeting the people, the clients, instead of I talk to this person, we'll update you. That is so cold to me. Yep. I'll say, hey Sam, how are you doing? It's a happy Saturday. Then you feel like, there's some
Grace, I'm
warmness.
a person. Grace cares about me.
Yeah. It's like, that's how I talk to my friends.
Yeah.
That's how I talk to my kids.
Absolutely.
Then my clients are important people in my life too.
I love that. And it shows. And I think that's probably why you get a ton of referral business.
Yeah.
People feel like you care. Do you ever send the video, just a quick video clip update to people?
I do sometimes.
There's a sales trainer that we were just learning from, and he said, your chances of getting a client or getting a sale go up. I think it was like 78% when you send a quick video update. And I started doing that back in, I think it was 2017. And most of the people didn't read it or didn't respond. And there were some people that said, oh my gosh, thank you. I was listening to it while I was driving my car. That made so much sense. Instead of having to read a text, you have a great smile. You have a smile on your face. And anyways, that's something that I think is hugely overlooked. It's so easy to make a call. And if they're unavailable, send a quick video. Yeah. Say, I hope you're doing well. Happy Saturday. Yeah. Here's what I'm doing with my kids this Saturday. Yeah. And by the way, let me know if you have any questions. Yeah. That's great. So. That's a golden nugget for sure.
Be a friend. Be a human. Be a friend.
I love that.
Yeah. Instead of like, oh, I'm here to get your business. Like, what business do you have for me?
Or even worse, I know there's a lot of realtors in the business that hate picking up their phone nights and weekends because it stresses them out. They're upset. And it's like, it's really, even if you are with your kids, my kids understand. I get calls from my investors and from my clients. They're like, hey kids, be really quiet for 2 minutes and I'll answer the call. And they're like holding it in. They're trying to be quiet. We're driving in the car or we're at the house. And it's a 2-minute phone call. And then it's done.
Let me give you a tip. When you share more about your life, oh, I'm here, I'm at the tournament, your clients will know. If they only have something very urgent, they will reach out because they're respectful of you as a friend. Sure. They won't bug their friend all hours, every hour. But I have to say, some people do. Not a lot of them will do that.
It's okay. There's a few.
Boundary. Some people, different boundary.
We all know a few people that lack boundaries.
Yeah. But I would say all of my clients are very respectful. I'm very respectful of their time and they're very respectful of my time because we understand we just have a common goal to get this done in the most effective, efficient and graceful way together.
I love that. Yeah. In the most graceful way. I mean, we all have the same goal, to sell the house, to get moved, have little drama as possible. No, that's great. Well, tell me about being a mom and working. That's really important to me. My kids, you just said before the podcast, your kids are number one. My kids are number one for me. We talked about that a little bit at the beginning. What are some of the challenges or things that you've had to move around in your life to be a good mom and also produce a great income?
I'll give you an example that's happening right now, right? My kids, they're both teenagers now. They get hangry. You can't talk to them when they are hangry. Yeah. Then I said, okay, let me make sure I move my schedule around, make sure I always have snacks when I pick them up. Then I have snacks for them, like eat it. Yeah. Right before we even talk.
Don't even talk to me.
Yeah. And snacks, sometimes you need to be creative in coming up with snacks. Yeah. Right. So I write down, okay, do you like this? Do you like that? And I have a list of things. And sometimes I'm running around. I can't go home and pick up, something from the fridge. Then what else can I have? I have chips in the car. I have some, granola bar, nuts. Yeah. Dry food. So those are stuff that always in my car. So you juggle and see, okay, if I learned that if my kids are in a good place mentally and their school, physically, then it's so much easier to do business. Yeah. Don't you think? Then absolutely. You're not always in a crisis mode, running from one crisis to the next, trying to save them from whatever challenges that they have. Right. Then you have more time to run your business.
Yeah, and it's more peaceful time as well. Yeah. I like that. So snacks because teenagers get hangry. That's huge. Well, and the one thing that I work from home and I love being there when the kids get home from school. But it's really hard to get work done after they get home from school because there's 6 kids in our house. It's chaos. Yeah. But what I've started doing is I said, okay, I'm going to block out. They get out at 2:15. I'm going to either be there when they get home or go get them. And until 3 o'clock, I don't have any appointments. And that's actually my time to spend with them. It's not a lot of time, but they'll tell me about their day probably they're going to be getting snacks. Liam's 6. He just wants to wrestle with me. So we'll play around. We'll goof off. Heidi wants to talk about, different things. And if I spend that 45 minutes with them, that's really intentional, just me and them, all of a sudden I can say, okay, I'm going to my office. Do not interrupt for the next 2-3 hours. And they've had some really good dad time. We got to talk. We got some snacks. And then I can shut that door. And I don't feel guilty, A, because I'm ignoring them because I just gave them really good quality time. And B, they're off with friends or they're doing homework or they're, watching their shows. And they've already had that dad time. And it's easier for them to leave me alone for a few hours until I can quit at 6 o'clock.
So you filled their cup and you got your cup filled.
Yeah.
For that portion of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you can move on and do other things for a few hours and you come back and be together again.
So, and that's one thing, Lyndon and my business coach last year talked about is be very intentional with your time and be present. Stop trying to do business when you're with your kids. Absolutely. And vice versa. Stop trying to do business and have your kids interrupt you all the time. Like you need to separate those. And so be smart about that.
I care about cooking and food, nutrition. So I still cook quite a bit.
Yeah.
And you just learn to be faster and better. And then you learn your business to be more efficient, more intentional. When you do it, like you get everything done. And then when you're off, pick them up, make dinner. Then I enjoy that time as well. So it's like,
I love that.
Yeah, it can be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we talked about your favorite book. We've talked about, parenting, how you got going in real estate, your different pillars. Where are you headed now? Because I know you invest a ton of your income in rentals and real estate. Are you trying to build your business higher, or are you trying to, as far as income goes, are you trying to manage your time better? Are you trying to invest? I know you love to travel. So tell me kind of where Grace Real Estate is headed as a career and as a life the next year and going on.
I am not aggressively adding to my business. I am doing different things, learning different things in the business to just see where the market is going. The market is changing as we speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the lawsuit, the market is changing. So I recently read a couple of books on politics and world economy, where we at. We have 2 wars going on right now. And I know we're told not to read too much news, but I want to learn how history brought us here and where are we going from learning from history. So that's actually really interesting. I want to understand how the world operates more, and that helps me as a person, and I understand my clients more, where they're coming from and where they're going. If you understand your clients, if they're seniors, they have retirement issue, money, how do they spend money? Do they have enough money if they go to a care home? It's interesting. Then I get to think of what I want. What do I want to do? Do I have enough money? Do I have enough protection for myself and my family?
Right.
And we worked a lot on investment. So in single family home, syndication, those are great tools. I have my 401k, now IRA from my tech days. I have a real estate investment. I want to build another bucket of security for myself.
Right.
I had health issues 2 years ago. I had a stroke. So that also woke me up. I felt like at that time I have enough, protection, but it could be better. So the last 2 years I have been reading a lot on okay, where are we going? What if we go into wars in the next 15 to 20 years? And we're higher risk of that than before.
Right.
And we had COVID, and we know that real estate investment is not bulletproof.
Right.
Tenants can always not pay rent. And what are you going to do?
Right now, the rental market's declining a little.
Yeah. And if we go into war, stock market can drop 50%.
Yep.
Then where's my retirement money if that happens? So I thought a lot more about that. How do I build more security for myself if the world is changing?
Right.
So I like the amount of business that I have. I can spend time with my clients, give them the attention that they need. give my kids the attention they need. My older daughter is a sophomore. Just tonight, we have 2 meetings on, it's a guidance night at the high school. So I'm volunteering more at the school.
That's awesome.
Being in their life more before they go off to college. So I'm in a good place.
Awesome.
Just learning and understanding the world and where we're going. That was the fun thing that I have been doing.
And spending more time with the girls. It sounds like you're really happy with the income level you're at, and also utilizing the time more how you want to. Mm-hmm. You mentioned earlier, as a new agent, you just have to grind. You just have to go do the calls. And imagine being at the place in 10 years where you don't have to make the calls. You can network and spend time with your family, but you can never get there if you don't make the calls and grind early on and learn the script, learn how to be a good, thoughtful agent who takes care of thetheir clients.
There's a quote called fail faster. So you fail, you get all the rejections, up front.
Yeah.
And get 500 of them, 1,000 of them. You fail faster and you get to success sooner.
Yep.
Or you spread it out for 5-10 years to do that. Then it's like such a drag.
Yeah.
Right?
Because you learn when you fail. That's why that quote, it makes so much sense. Fail faster. You learn a little bit more every time you fail. Every time you get hung up on, every time you don't close a deal, every time you don't get a listing, you should be learning from those.
Yeah.
And, I had to fail really fast. I had to choose when I got in real estate. Do I keep doing the career I was doing, or do I, just like you, do I jump to new career? And I kept thinking, man, am I doing the right thing? And I went my first 6 months, not selling a whole lot. And then I upped the calls and I started doing 30, 40, 50 calls a day. And I sold like another 16 deals in my next 6 months, but it's because I wasn't failing fast enough the first 6 months. And so fail faster is really important.
Fail faster. So allocate some time, put in all your thoughts, attention, focus in learning and doing as much as you can for a period of time. For me, my business started ramping up on my 3rd year.
Okay.
And it came faster than I knew. We have recognitions and stuff. I got on the list at my 3rd year. Wow. Which I thought, wow, did they do the math right? I didn't think I could be there. Yeah. But if you do the work, if you learn the scripts, follow the system, then it's coaching. You don't have to reinvent it.
Yeah, it's very possible. And it's really the people that are on those lists are just doing more activities. They're doing more sales activities. With Eddie, we talked about, what are the 3 things that are going to get you a new client? It's talking to your clients, getting referrals from them. It's cold calling, and it's doing a really good job on your listings or your buyers. And so, what are the things you can focus on that are going to really help you fail faster? But, maybe it's calling 50 people a day. Maybe it's calling 100 people a day. Shiv Bansal, when I talked to him years ago, he said, how many contacts do you make? I was like, 30 to 40 a day. He's like, well, how many listings do you have currently? I was like, 3. He goes, what the hell else do you do with your time? What are you doing with your time? Right. Why don't you have 100 contacts a day? It's like, well, that's a really good point. I'd be getting to my goals a whole lot faster if I did.
Back to what we're talking about mindset. If you fail, you have too much time in between, then you have too much time to sulk.
Yeah.
And that's where the negative mindset eats at you. Like if you like doing all these activities, you don't have time to really okay, let's go to the next one, You don't really have time to let the negative mindset come in.
I love that.
That's also important. You fail faster, do more activity. You don't have time to.
Yeah. Well, in basketball, they tell shooters just to keep shooting.
Yeah.
You miss a basket, oh well, shoot again.
Have the
short-term memory
of a goldfish.
Exactly. Short-term memory, fail faster.
Memory of a goldfish, then you just keep moving forward.
Keep shooting, keep doing, keep moving forward. Yeah. Well, Grace, this has been amazing.
Thank you.
Always love hanging out with you and talking. And guys, if you know or need real estate help in the Bay Area, specifically Cupertino, Los Altos, Grace is fantastic. And if you have questions about real estate investing, we didn't get into this too much, but you've invested in the Midwest, California, Utah, Texas.
Texas.
You're with me in some deals.
Florida, yeah.
Grace is a really good resource for
That's
investing
also
as well.
fail faster. You know, if you start early, you have more time to kind of come up with what works for you. Where do you want? My philosophy changed. I was in the Midwest, and after a couple of years, I said, I don't want to be that far. Let's move everything closer to San Jose.
Yeah.
That's how we started talking.
Yeah.
The universe brought you to me. You were sitting right next to me. And I said, like, what's happening
Brought us together.
in Salt Lake City? I've never been to Salt Lake City at that time.
That's awesome. And now you have, what, 4 rentals there?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're doing great.
Doing great. And it's 100% collection in rent during COVID.
Yeah. Wasn't that amazing?
It's amazing. It appreciated well, great tenants.
Yep.
And that's starting from the first conversation because we both get off the couch and went to the conference and we asked the question, right? All of that just started from there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Grace, again, thank you so much. I can't wait to air this episode, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So good.